when you, as a Westerner, first went to there, how was that? Can you share something about that experience transitioning to then and then incorporating and integrating that experience and coming back?
That reintegration is still a process.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
Hmm.
don't feel so grounded in America just yet. And I feel like I'm taking my time, letting things unfold organically so that I am not either shocked by what I find if I go out too soon, or that it's effort in a way that feels like more needs to be in the output the in order for like the sonar or the echo to return. Yeah. So I'm very aware of these types of internal movements and
Hmm.
building up that kind of call and response system where what signal goes out has enough energy for a return. Yeah. So this is important for me. And I'm not 100% there yet. So that maybe in another year or two, I would be able to answer differently.
Yeah.
What I gained from being in community, though, was different depending on where I was. I can't say that 10 years in Asia represented just one thing. Yeah. And so my life in Malaysia was very different than when I lived in the Philippines or when I lived in Thailand and was based mostly in Koh Phangan. I'd say that Koh Phangan was the largest form of a spiritual community in one place as compared, yeah, like as compared to anywhere else, except for maybe Bali and all those that were based in Ubud. But Ubud would be like a little bit older than Koh Phangan. Some of that energy would have started from those that in early days went to Goa as a starting point for spirituality in the East with a lot of foreigners and not necessarily those that were dedicated to an ashram or
Hmm.
to a monastery, let's say. So there are places where people have been going as seekers or perhaps as teachers, but a lot of times people go to the East because they're seeking something within themselves and they're
Yeah.
not really sure what it is or how to find it or in what way this journey is going to bring healing. But the idea or the intention is let me just get on this quest first and then see what I find. Hopefully, I'll find myself along the way. Um, I never had that in going to Asia. I went to Malaysia to teach at a learning center. So I still had a quite Western job or, relationship with Asia in the beginning. And over time, I got introduced to people in different places and different communities and got to be established with the Global Eco Village Network in the Oceania Asia region. So I got to experience quite a few different communities focused on eco village living. But even in the eco village network, which is global, Asia is quite different because a lot of what is happening at what we would call a level of eco consciousness is still embedded in the traditional cultures around many countries in Asia. So there's tons of eco village stuff happening, but they wouldn't consider themselves an eco village. They're like, this is just our village. This is what we've been doing for thousands of years, and it just hasn't changed much. So that type of consciousness, I think, is helpful for people that don't get it because they're like, how are you doing what you're doing? And how have you been doing this for so long? And how is this not new for you? And you just seem to have had this way of sustaining life for those that don't have much or in places where the land doesn't offer many resources and you make it possible. You seem to be thriving in places where it just doesn't seem likely for this to happen. And you're just doing it with so little. So this, I think, is what also helps humble people that come from the West and are seeking things, and to see what it's like in a place like Asia, especially, to be so close to the earth, or to have so little, but also to have so much happiness and love when materialism isn't the main focus for happiness. Yeah. Um, so I learned a lot in moments like that. I would say that in a place like Kopanang, there's still this sense that anyone can be the facilitator of something, and just make it up, whatever you want to facilitate. And you'll probably get a few people that come if you put it on Facebook, make an event, book a venue. So there's still this like superstore shopping market of what you want. Just throw it in your cart, get a taster of this, get a taster of that, sample this and sample that, and then decide what you're going to go home with. Um, or what new recipes you learn that you might want to try cooking at home when you get back to your own country, kind of thing. I
Mm.
think there's a lot of that in Asia, and in places like Bali or Kopanang, it's common. And I don't gravitate to things like that. So this isn't ever my understanding. But I can appreciate how deep the conversations have been with people in places like this, how open-minded people are as compared to those that maybe never leave their country or never leave their state or just stay in their small village their whole life. I can appreciate how the realizations that come through for someone who, let's say, is um, the who's the recipient of, let's say, racism, or some type of minority mentality from the country they're born in. Like in America, this is very strong, right? There's a lot of tension between races and economic status. When a person who's used to this type of suppression or oppression in America maybe goes to a place like Bali, where so many people from all over the world are there at the same time, no one's looking at the color of your skin or the accent that you have, or making you feel out of place in some way, like you're going to steal something, or you need to be watched, or you're probably going to do something illegal, right? um that is liberating. That's so liberating. That's so
Mm.
beautiful. You get a chance to experience yourself as a human inside of the multi-dimensionality of humanness, that no matter who you are or where you're from, we have something common in our hearts. Yeah. So I love communities for this nature, that we're intentionally connecting with the heart at some level that we might not experience in a society that's driven by materialism, or by, like, the need to succeed in business or in corporations, things like that. You don't find a lot of spiritual corporations in places like this. Yeah, you find
Mm.
more communities that are organized around the garden, or a spiritual practice, or a part of being simple with life, and the way of just appreciating more while perhaps doing less.
Yeah.